It's now time for Monster Soup, with your really fun at parties host, Dave Spencer, and his level-headed co-host, Brian McKinney. These dudes will explore all the crazy mysteries roaming off forest and deserted hallways. After all, monsters are real. It's Monster Soup time right now. Get it while it's hot. Now your hosts, Dave and Brian.
Hello. Welcome to Monster Soup, a kitchen of conversation for misfits, cryptids, and these kids. I'm Dave Spencer, your golden retriever host, and with me, as always, as they call him in the Russian bathhouse, the big beluga, but we call him Brian
McKinney. Well, welcome.
Welcome, comrade.
That was a good one. Welcome to the 25th edition of Monster Soup. I can't believe we did it.
25 episodes of
whatever. And they said we'd never last,
you know what? They all doubted us. No one said anything, but everyone loves an underdog story. So everyone was against us. The one guy who said this guy is too much sugar in the tank, and that other person who was really mad at us because we didn't talk about cameras enough.
It seems like most of our feedback is negative.
It's okay. Listen, that's what we're here for.
Yep. But yeah, can't believe it. 25 episodes.
25 episodes. Yeah, I don't know. What are you up to, man? What has been going on in Brian's life?
Oh, just another fantastic work week. This week was a real bummer, but got through it. 5 o'clock on a Friday, so let the weekend begin.
Yeah,
didn't do much during the week this week. It's been so cold, man. I'm so over this cold weather. Like,
did someone make Mother Nature mad? Like, did we say like there wasn't even any snow? Like, it's like was like last year, and then this year it's just like, oh, you missed the snow, and it's like, bam! Like it's been snowing to the level of like I thought we were done, and it just keeps coming. Like usually it just like snows, and it'll be like whatever, and it'll be like rock hard for a while. It won't just like continuously keep happening. Like I went to go get my passport the other day, and I had like an appointment, and I had to like leave, and then all of a sudden I realized when I got to my car that it was a full block of ice. I'm like, oh no. So I got cleared like the front part, but then I realized I just didn't have time to clear up the side. So I'm just like hoping no one's coming from my right side like the whole way. I'm like, oh god. Just like going through. I mean the post office is like right down the street, but it was like enough to be dangerous. I was like, oh god, I'm a menace right now.
It's just the last couple of years, we've definitely been light on the snow, which was awesome, but this year, like, it's just, and then the cold on top of it. We've had stretches for a week at a time. It's like in the single digits in the teens, and I've shoveled snow more in the last like 2 weeks than I have probably in the last like 2 or 3 years. I'm like over it. Like today, my wife came home from work because we got another couple inches of snow like this morning, and she was like, "Hey, are we you take care of the driveway?" And I was like, "Nah, it's gonna be like 35 tomorrow. I'm just gonna let it melt. I'm done.
Yeah,
I'm putting the shovel away. I don't care how much snow we get. I'm not shoveling again this year."
Do you need me to bring over? I have officially have like a what is it called?
Snowblower.
Snowblower now. Yeah, I can't talk. I guess Joe has one. It'd probably be a little easier for him.
Yeah, he's offered his. But my driveway's not that big, and I could do it by myself in 20 minutes. If it's real deep, maybe a half hour, and then sometimes I'll get one of my kids to help me or something. But for the most part, I go out there, just get a little exercise in. Like I don't really mind doing it. It's just like I don't want to have to do it like every single time I want to like go somewhere. I have to shovel the whole driveway.
Yeah.
I'd rather like go to the gym and work out rather than stand out in the cold, shovel snow.
My wife actually like loves it. It's like her favorite thing to do. And I can't stand it. I think it's stupid and dumb and pointless. I'm like, just walk through the snow. It's fine. But she's just like, the postman will slip. And I'm like, okay. But she also has a bad back, so she can't like really do it. So whenever she does it, it's like a whole pain. It's a whole thing. And I'm like, but what's the but we have the the snowblower now, and it takes like 5 seconds to do it, but I have to bring it all the way around the house. It's kind of a pain, but yeah, I just don't care anymore. I don't want it to happen. I want it to be done. I want to be outside. Like I keep seeing pictures of people or these videos of people like being out in nature, and I'm like, I'd love to do that. It's so cold though. I just like it's just not fun being out there right now for me, at least. I'm not
it's guy. Supposed to next week get back up into like the normal temperatures, so it'll be like upper 30s, low 40s. So we should. Yeah. I think we're coming out of it, and by March 1st, mentally it's like we're past it. If we get a couple days here and there, no big deal. But we're gonna start having more good days than bad days. Yeah, I'm just checked out. I'm over it. No more shoveling for me.
Yeah, no more. You're just done. I'm retired. I
drew a line, and I'm not doing that anymore.
Today we had a half day at my work, and I decided we got pizza last week, and I was like, it'd be really cool to get a whole pizza and eat it to myself. So today I exercised my ability of free will, and I got an entire pizza and I ate the whole thing. It ruled. And I got pepperoni green peppers, the best pizza combination that exists in the world. I almost wanted to get some pineapple just to kind of like flex and see what that tastes like, because I personally think that you can do whatever you want in the world, and there's no such thing as the right way to, like, pepperoni doesn't belong on, or pineapples don't belong on pizza. I'm like, listen, we made all of this up. It's fine. You can do whatever you want. Yeah. You can put anything on a pizza. I've seen rice and chicken and shrimp on a pizza. It did not belong on there because it did not stay on the pizza. Yum. It's just something you put dough into.
Yeah, I guess at some point it's like it's not really pizza anymore. It's like a whole different meal, And it's like what's fine. You could do all that, but you're really just having like stir fry at that point,
Scott, I'm still exercising for the bike ride. I see you in the comments. I can have a full pizza and burn all those calories. That's why I did it. I'm carbing up.
Yeah. You're gonna be about 30 miles into that bike ride going, damn it, I wish I hadn't eaten that pizza 3 months ago.
Whole pizza. I have a problem where I can't just like sit and like enjoy myself. I have to like do other things. So like I kind of had to like stick myself to the couch and like eat that pizza and just like stay there, not try to work on anything and like be productive. I was just like, just sit here and watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine and just chill. And so I was able to do that and not like just try to build something or draw something. I was like, I just want to sit here, because we have like, it's basically like a wellness Friday. Like they gave us summer Fridays, and then they basically were like,
your wellness Friday is to eat a whole pizza.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're gonna rescind that offer. They're like, wellness Fridays are canceled. Dave ruined it for everyone.
Dave doesn't have a foot anymore. Just look like Chuck Norris at the end of Dodgeball. Just like, oh god. Just, like, how'd you get type 2 diabetes? All those
wellness Fridays.
Wellness Fridays. Come with a rascal scooter. Just like, oh man.
That's so funny.
So also this week I had a fun little thing happen. It was really sad. So, but like also it was a nice little gesture, I guess. I'm posting by myself. It's weird. Which I shouldn't. But oh my god, my dog just started to be sad. Hold on, real quick. Let me yell at my son to do something.
And Dave has muted his microphone for everybody who can't hear anything right now.
Yeah, sorry. My dog will sit here right next to me and cry till we let her out. She has dementia now, and she literally just like wants to be outside, but then she also gets mad that she's outside, and then she wants to come back in, and then she gets mad that she's inside. She wants to go outside. And I'm sure anybody with dogs knows this exact situation, but it happens when they get older. They just don't know what they want. I know. I love you so much, but you have to go outside. What was I going to talk about? Okay, so this week I had sorry, I got distracted. So if you're on TikTok or you know this, there was this anglerfish that like came up from the ocean, which they don't do that. That's like not a thing they do. In an anglerfish being that fish that has like the light that kind of hangs down with like the gnarly teeth, for the people in the audience and stuff. But like they usually stay real deep in the water. And one had like arisen from like the depths of the ocean and turned like everybody thought this thing was like really big, and then we found out it was only like this little 6-inch thing. Like, but they started like making up symbolism for why he came up. What he or she, I don't know. I think it's she because I think girls have the light. But so it became very symbolic of like, she went to go see the light that she didn't have to produce herself, and all these like poems about it, and everybody was getting kind of choked up about it. And then it's kind of like, oh, she died and everything. And then just like this week, there's this crab that this lady owns, and her name's Howie, and she puts little hats on him, and then she would talk to him, and he could like emote and like say like you could tell when he was happy because his little mandibles would like come up and be like whatever. And like I said, she puts little hats on him, and it was really cute. And he died too this week, and it was just this devastating. So I made a little video, and it of like basically Howie showing up to like the afterlife, and then the anglerfish like shows up and like kind of guides him away. But I made it on, if you want to see it on TikTok, it's Mischief Factory on there. But it was my first viral video. Got like 10,000 likes on it. I was like, oh yeah, I've been trying to do that for a while. And it made me sad that it had to be like crab had to die for it to happen. I was like, oh yeah, but so shout out to Howie. It was really it was a gesture that I did just because I thought of it, and I was like, oh, it'd be really nice to kind of see this. And there's like all these these like, what's it called, parasocial relationships you have with things, and that's kind of what was happening there. It was just this cute little crab and this cute little anglerfish that got touching everyone's heart. So I did a little video on that. It's like kind of like a cartoon. I took my illustration and kind of just like edited it so it looked kind of like cut to it looked like it was kind of animated, but it really is just like a still shot that I kind of shot to. But I just told a story while that went through. Like I said, it was just about the anglerfish kind of ushering him to the afterlife.
So yeah, the anglerfish is still alive. Is that right?
No, the anglerfish died very quickly after it had risen from the water.
It sure did off to the. I got you.
Yeah. So it's just those two. And my favorite comment somebody said, "Did you stab me?" Because she thought it was so sad. I was like, I just want to let you know. It's made me laugh. I apologize. She's like, oh, I'm glad you like my pain. Like, oh, sorry.
Well, that's cool.
But yeah, so that's what I had this week. I've still been cranking away on these little. So if you want to follow me on Mischief Factory on TikTok, I make these little drawings. Today's drawing was hippo. It's like your little hippo kid. And then this one actually I thought was really funny. It's a hoagie, and I drew a little hoagie dude.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
The green doesn't really show up, but you get why. Yeah, so I've been doing those every day, and they're fun to do, and they're quick and easy, and like I said, fun. Nothing else besides eating an entire pizza.
Yeah, that's good, but
you got to do what you got to do. But let's get to our source at hand today. Unless you had anything else to kind of cover, I would like to talk about the great Nessie. From the bowels of the Loch.
Dave with his trusty pipe. He's the old sea captain.
My piece of paper on a jelly roll pen. All right. So
the Loch Ness monster, Nessie, one of my all-time faves, by the way. And one of outside of like Bigfoot and aliens in general, and maybe like Mothman. I mean, it's like top 5 like pop culture cryptid type things. How many TV shows have had plot lines that involve the Loch Ness monster? And I'm not even talking about like kind of History Channel, Discovery Channel shows where they're actually in the Loch. I'm talking like cartoons or like sitcoms, and it's like one of like the biggest pop culture cryptids, and I'm not sure why, other than it's just cool in general. But I mean, lake monsters, if you just like Google like lake monsters in general. I mean, there's hundreds of them. Like, where did this?
Yeah.
Where did this all start? That lake monsters became like an obsessive thing, for everybody.
I think it's because they're like water itself is mysterious, so like you can't see into it, so like you have no, like you can walk over to a tree and be like, oh, that wasn't there, or like the sounds you heard, like you can kind of find the reason why they happened. There's an animal there or something like that. But if something big is in the water or something that you don't recognize, I mean, I've seen so many videos of like crazy like Floridian people just like jumping in deep water and then coming out with a rascal. Just like, well, get him, Tucker. And you're like, okay, like just pulling out a whole dinosaur and then just being cool with that. And just like the scariest thing you've ever seen, and it's just this fish that's like, it's just like the mud, a mud glub. It's just wild. I mean, it's murky water, and
I mean, it's one of dozens of reasons why I don't like the swim in water that I can't see. But
yeah, I mean, specifically, I mean this lake, the Loch Ness. Is what is it? What are the specs on it? It is a 23-mile long lake. It's 1.7 miles across, so it's mainly long. It's a long, thin lake. Yeah, but it's really deep and really dark.
Yeah, it's almost like some of the shows I've seen. Like the water's completely like there's no visibility at all. There's so much like peat in the water from like the soil and stuff around it.
Yeah,
that you can't.
And it's dark at like 10 feet. Like it's dark like right away.
Yeah, like you can't see anything. So like when they go, really sonars really do anything they could do, because the divers get down there and like you can't see anything. Like they'll go all the way to the bottom and be like, of the the shallow areas, they're not going like 900 feet deep, but they're like, yeah, we're at the bottom, but we can't see anything. Like the cameras is just black. You see nothing. And then one of the other interesting things that I didn't realize about the lake, or the Loch, is doesn't freeze even in the cold Scottish winters. I can't remember what the I thought I jotted it down, like the scientific reasoning for that, but essentially the cold water falls to the bottom and the warm water comes up, and then so like at the top it never freezes. Where it's like the exact opposite of like what we have here in America, where it basically freezes nonstop.
Yeah, it never gets too hot, and it never warms, but it also never gets cold enough to freeze. I was reading about how that kind of like works, but being from Ohio, I'm like, what do you mean?
Yeah, what are you talking about?
What do you mean it's always cold and it never freezes? Yeah. What sweet hell is this?
Yeah. Like our lake freezes all the time. What are you talking about?
I know. It's cold in the summertime. Not as cold as it could be, I guess, but you're just like, oh, most of the time you're, oh. Every once in a while you'll get like a really good lake day and you're like, this is the best ever, but it's so far in between. But yeah, I mean, like you said, it's since I've been a kid, it was maybe like it was probably the first or second like spooky weird thing that I was into. Like from the X-Files, I think there was an entire episode on the X-Files about it. I remember there being like a still shot, like zooming into the picture that we all kind of have in our mind's eye of Nessie, the surgeon photo.
Yeah, the surgeon photograph, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, and that grainy just like look of all that, and it's just and on top of that, like Scotland in and of itself is it's almost a cryptid of itself. It's just foggy and like green, and like it's just so beautiful there. Actually, if anybody has a chance to look at it, there's a show. If you watch Outlander. You don't need to watch Outlander, but it's the two people from Outlander, the lead character, Jamie, and then his friend. They have a traveling show. It's on Stars, and it's absolutely the most delightful show you ever watch. Like they just go around Scotland and do Scotland stuff. And it's just like, everything's just so pretty there. You're just like, oh my gosh, it's like foggy and beautiful. And, like you said, the peat moss, they make like whiskey one episode. And I remember me and my wife just like sat in bed with coffee and just watched it. And I was like, I've never had a better time. Like, it's just like, it was so cozy. And they're just having a good time being friends, going around Scotland. And I was like, I think you need to go to Scotland, babe. Like this looks so rad. So yeah, there's like a mystery to that. And I think even on Google Maps, you can go into the Loch. Like they have like a like the kind of Google Maps, but I mean, it was like they're like, and they had like a whole promo where they're like deep in the Loch. Like you see where monsters may come from. It was like a really cool like promo they did of that whole like speaking just like of like myth and stuff like that. And
they have like a live webcam that you can watch, on one of the websites.
I should have blocked it. I got these little girls are like calling me while this is happening. They're calling my daughter who's on my phone right now, but they're also coming to my phone or my computer. Turn it off. But yeah, so it's just it's such a spooky and cool area, and all these like little myths that like we've been like living with. They just, like I said, when I was a kid, it was the first one I was into. It's so cool, and it felt real because, like you said, like you're afraid of dark water. Like it's scary down there. There's so many things going on. But yeah, I don't know. But the first like official like what would be the like kickoff of all this stuff happened basically in the 6th century. Saint Columba basically said he cast off this beast with like a prayer to the waters, and like this beast. It wasn't described as like we know Nessie as looking, but he was just like this beast that was in the water, and that's kind of where stuff started kicking off. So that's when things started really hitting the fan, as far as not hitting the fan, but like people started going like, oh, looking to the water with these like things. The same thing. There's a Lake Erie monster that they describe in this area. That's like kind of the same sort of vibe with like we got some in the water, but we got the same kind of water where it's murky and weird. But I learned about a new one that I wasn't aware of. It's called a Kelpie. Did you read about this guy?
No, what's up?
So it's a water horse. But basically like it calls to you. It's wearing like the saddle and everything, and it basically calls to you like a siren to be like, get on my back. And then you go like, I gotta get on this horse's back and like ride it majestically, and it just takes you to the water and shoves you down. And then you basically like you drowned, and it's like this mythical beast. And basically, there's like this old tale of this guy that took the bridle off of the horse, and then it tried to fight back against him taking its bridle, and it realized that the bridle was actually the source of its power. But yeah, that was kind of a whole thing that really started. This whole thing really just started to pick up from there, and then we obviously have. The big one that was the surgeon one that happened. Yeah,
back in the 30s when it went. Well, and it's funny now that we got to start saying the 1930s because we're damn near upon the 2030s.
Oh no!
I can't just say the 30s anymore. But yeah, like the mid 1930s is when it really became kind of like a local phenomenon, and then kind of spread out from there. Like, and they had put in a road. They cleared out some trees and put a road in that went, next to the Loch. And I guess that's what spurred a lot of this stuff was people were driving right down real low where you could see all the water, and started reporting a lot of this stuff, or just the locals around there in general. But they have rock carvings and things, going back to ancient times of different, monster looking things with flippers that are carved in some stones, over there. So, it's not like the people in the 30s just started making stuff up. People, a century before that. Now, maybe everybody was trolling even back then. They were like, hey, let's just tell everybody there was a monster here just to freak them out, But that's where your things always kind of lend credibility to me when it's like, the ancient people who probably, were basically just trying to survive are spending time, carving stuff into stone and telling these stories, And I'm sure some of them are just to, scare their children not to go in the water and stuff like that. But, whether it be, Bigfoot or alien stuff you see carved in stones here, in the West in America, in caves or down in Mexico, that just adds a layer of validity to, as far as I'm concerned, of why somebody would take the time to carve into stone a picture of a monster coming out of this lake,
Yeah, I mean, there's I guess there's tons of reasons like for it to happen, but like this is how we tell these stories like through like these people that have these sightings, and then you sit around a fire, and there's no TV back then, there's no radio. You can only talk. The only way you're hearing people talk is like through that. So I always find that very, very interesting. As far as like, who's the guy? Adam Davies was telling a really cool story. When we went to his talk at the Bigfoot Festival, he said that there are people in tribes that hold on to the stories of this culture, and they'll tell the story like it happened yesterday, but that's their job. Their job is to hold the stories from like thousands of years ago. They'll be like, they'll just tell you the story like they're like, because that's their literal job in the tribe, is to hold these stories. So imagine being a professional storyteller. That would just be like the coolest like gig. Be like, just like, got it, all right. And then and then always print the legend, never print the truth. It's never fun. The truth is like, Gary had a stub toe. No, Gary was bludgeoned by the sword of vengeance. He couldn't go on, but I said, Gary, get on my shoulders, and we carried him away. Print the legend. That's how it works.
Matthew Sims in the chat. There's so many underwater caverns, caves, and rivers. Who knows what's hiding down there? That's what I'm talking about. Like there's so much. I mean, when you talk about just the oceans in general and how we've explored more of space than we have, the oceans. And every a handful of years when they start to go down a little bit deeper than they could the last time, and they find the whole new version of sea life. It's like what's down in there, what's hiding around the corners. You don't know. We just assume there's nothing there, but we're not going down there to look. So,
I know. Yeah, I mean, I would say the caves probably hold more unfound things like right now than we're like even aware of. Like, I would hope that at some point we'll have like kind of a sonar. I guess at the same time, I don't want that to happen, because the mystery, being able to like find mysterious things is like so exciting. And I would hate to completely like mine this earth of like any mystery where we're just like, we got it all, figured it all out. We know what's down there. It's just like, okay, well then, you've taken our mysteries away. Same thing with like Nessie. It's like, whatever we're going to say to you today, I don't think that should take away from like how mysterious and there was somebody said once like about this one story that just like was just wholeheartedly not true, but it was just like, sure, 95% of this is proven wrong, but there's still 5% left. And what's going on in that 5%? There's still wiggle room for some of this, but so let's get down to some of the sightings here. So like I said, the first recorded one was St. Columbia back in the 5th century. And then and there was a sighting that was basically these people in 1933. They said they saw a whole creature walk in front of them on the A82 highway, I believe. And that's the new road that they had put in. Yeah, so they saw what basically was like a whale-like creature, like inside it. Like they saw it opposite side. They were like, it was basically like rolling in the water and things like that. So that was like one sighting, and they kind of that is what it is. People kind of like go like, maybe it was wake. I saw a lot of science things that I kind of adjusted while doing this, where people were like trying to mimic what it was, and to different results of like, it was probably this. And another sighting was somebody said that walked right in front of their car, and they said it was the closest to a dragon that they've ever seen. And then it had like the what we know is like the plesiosaurus head.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say?
No, I was just gonna say that in the plesiosaur, that's like, for me it's like, I try to always look at what's the most reasonable, easiest. It's Occam's razor. Whatever's the simplest answer is probably the right one. Now, some would laugh at this anyway, but it looks like a plesiosaur. We know plesiosaurs were around. Could just be a plesiosaur, that just didn't go extinct. They found coelacanths off the coast of Madagascar, in the early 1900s. They find things that they thought were extinct pretty regularly. Finding like a legit dinosaur, maybe not, but it kind of fits that description. It was something that did live at one point, so rather than being some mythical creature, it could just be that. Now the odds of, you know, a plesiosaur still being around, you know, obviously very slim, but it's like that 5% you were talking about, you know.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Maybe there is, you know.
yeah, there is a thing about the topography of it. Aside from the actual water itself, the rocks around it are very they're hard. They're really hard, and they also don't have a lot of nutrients in them. So that means like life really isn't as abundant there as it could be, because it's just not a very like robust area for like nutrients and like things to kind of survive. So, you know, again, weighing in on it being able to like, it would need a lot to live at that size in general, like just as a monster, as any being that's like big, like a, you know, a bear consumes so much. A tiger, if you want to give it to like, you know, things that we know we can track their like feeding habits, like a tiger takes like so many pounds of meat a day to live. A entire dinosaur would be like a lake's worth of food a day, you know, and you know, so if it is something, I don't believe it to be that big. It would be something smaller.
Yeah.
Like maybe not what they're seeing, but like if we're looking at something that's like in the water, there's also a lot of things I've seen with scientifically like establishing depth and size on a flat lake is nearly impossible, because we have nothing to base it against. When it's out in the water like that, like you look at a boat that's like in the distance, I don't know if that's a big boat or a little boat. You look at a ferry like out way out there, you're like, oh, is that like a big, I mean, obviously a ferry has like a standard size kind of, so you know how big that is, but like it's really kind of hard when you see something pop out of the water, unless it's like a duck. You're like, I know how big a duck is, but if it's something that you don't understand, like a stick or a rock or a log, you don't know how big that thing is. When it's just like in a lake or a loch. So whether what we're looking at is very, very big or very tiny, it still could be the same what we're imagining, you know, when we think of Nessie with the plesiosaurus, but maybe a very tiny one, a species we haven't found, or maybe just like a fish species that like jumps out of the water weird, you know, like I remember when I was a kid, there was like a theory that it was just the picture that we know is like the main picture was just a duck that would like went underwater. Like you know, they just got the foot. So I don't know if I'm going to get to this now, but I was going to tell you the story about the surgeon's photograph. Actually, I do want to get to it. So the surgeon's photograph, hold on, let me get my notes on it, because I actually thought it was kind of funny. So a guy was hired, and his name was Marmaduke Weather. Is that his name? I think I wrote it down, but that sounds wrong. That's not someone's name. Let's just say Marmaduke. He was a big game hunter, and he was hired to hunt the Loch Ness monster. He was good at his job, apparently. They were like, we're going to hire you to go get him. And then so he went out there, and he basically like right away found footprints in the dirt, like within like 3 days or a week or whatever. Come to find out that the footprints that he found were a hippo ashtray that he had from his exploits as being a big game hunter. I think he got it from Africa or something like that. But he basically like planted in these like hippo, and I think they found it out because every single one of them was exactly the same. Yeah, I mean, like you take one stamp and he did it like that. So he did that. So he was basically like ousted. Everybody was like, you're a fraud. Like you basically just crapped over everything we were trying to establish here. And so he was super ousted. He was mad. So he decided to take this picture. He did he took a model boat, and then he attached like a neck to it, and then he put it in the water. He took a photo. And that's the photo that we all know that when you think of Nessie, that's the one. And he persuaded a surgeon named Robert Wilson to pretend like he took the photo. And then that's where that's basically, I think that was a deathbed confession by him being like,
that's what he said.
Yeah, he's like, that was all hoax. We just got together, and he told me to say it was him, or that it was me, but it wasn't, because people usually tended to believe doctors and people like that, because they're like, oh, obviously they wouldn't lie. Why would they put their whole career on the line? Well, apparently everybody can. Everybody's capable of lying. So yeah, I mean, like, there's been a lot of cases of just like people saying things that happened. There was another case, I can't remember the name, but the guy said that he just saw something coming across the water. It was known as like there's a video of just like ripples. I'm watching it, and they're like explaining it to me like it's this very, very it was like it's the best footage of Nessie,
Hmm.
and I was like, it's so far away. First off,
Yeah, you can't tell what it is.
Yeah, I was like, I mean, you could see like ripples go through the water, and something was cruising through it. But I was like, that could be literally anything I'm looking at. So I don't know why I was like so in all of this video that I was watching, but it was it was just, and there was like a tiny little speck on it that was kind of like the giveaway for why it was fake, and I didn't really understand why that was the case either. But
It's so interesting too, like how many different. Well, some of the eyewitness reports talk about it coming out of the water, in on the coastline and stuff like that, and their description of it at that point, because in the water you're like, oh, it could be a big sturgeon or like a giant eel or something, or plesiosaurus, or whatever, it could be anything. But it's like, then this thing comes out of the water, looks like a dragon, or looks, then even those descriptions aren't all the same, like they're describing different things, and it's like, what relevance is that to it? Is there multiple things? Is it really just one thing? Is it all just made up completely?
I mean,
because it makes sense that, okay, yeah, there could be something that just lives in the water and then it does not come out on the shore, but for it to be able to come out on the shore and then go back in, and there are species of fish and things, sea life that do that, but nothing big enough that you'd look at it and consider it to be a monster.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if you want to tell your fish tale, it's way better if you're at Loch Ness and you say you saw Nessie, than it is to say I saw an unidentifiable land fish. But I mean, there's always cases of things that like we assumed were extinct that have like reappeared, or just, I mean, the platypus being one that nobody believed in, duck-billed platypus. People were like, that's not a real thing, and then all of a sudden they were like, they're right here, and we're like, oh, like they are real. There's when I was doing my research on this,
silverback gorilla, like, oh, there's all kinds of stuff that they find all the time that you talk to the natives and they're like, oh yeah, that we've been telling you guys about that. Nobody believes us.
I remember hearing this story about this babbling brook. This is off the top of my head, so I don't remember the logistics of it. But like there was this like a pond that was in the middle of the jungle, and apparently the water was warm, like a good like. Obviously the jungle is warm, but like this was like bubbling warm, like a little like a natural jacuzzi,
like a natural spring or something.
I want to say it was on like Brazil or something like that. Like that sounds right. But for years, this guy had talked about it, and for years he was laughed out of every scientific like room that he could think of, because they were just like, this can't exist. This isn't like, that's not how water works. That's not how the Earth is terraformed. Like all this stuff. And then he went to like a local village, and he was talking about it, like he's on the search for this thing, and then like they go to the village, and this old lady's like, yeah, that's like right over there. And he goes there and he finds it, and he just has to document this whole thing, and he's just like, he just brings it back to all his buddies, like, I wasn't lying, it's right here. So it's just a matter of finding the thing that you you believe in, and showing the people that don't believe you. And obviously there's scientific reasons to not believe something because it doesn't make any sense, and just let it go, bro. But like, if you can if you got the wherewithal, I guess if you got the funding is really what it comes down to. If you got the funding, spend some money. I mean, I watched this one guy, I think, what is it, they have like basically a sonar blast across the whole thing, and they've been doing that for years, and they really want to get into just really there was actually they did an expedition, and they blasted the sonar out, and they came across a big like something down there, and it was this whole thing, and they're like, oh my gosh, we may have found it, and then they went back to that same spot and they found out it was just a big thing of debris that was down there. So that, I mean, that tends to be the case.
One of those big solar or sonar expeditions they did was like in the late, I think it was like in 1987 or something. I remember like being a kid and watching that, and I'm like, oh, it's going down now. They're gonna find it. Like, look at all that technology out on that water, But I mean, you go back to the things 23 miles long and that deep, and assuming it's not really large and it is a big eel or whatever. You figure, and it goes so deep, and there's caves and stuff at the bottom of it. it could easily hide from that. A lot of people just assume it's like this giant thing, like as big as an elephant or bigger or whatever.
Yeah.
Like you can't miss it. You can easily miss something that's not that big.
Yeah,
But I remember being a kid watching it on the news, and I was just like, because at that point I was already like into all this stuff, and I was like, oh yeah, they're gonna find Nessie for sure. All those boats like tied together going down the loch with their sonar.
Little Brian looking over at his dad, just being like, "Just you wait, Dad." He's just like, "Okay."
And he was like, "Shut up, you moron."
Boy's never gonna get a job. He's talking about fake fish. It's not a fish, Dad. It's a monster.
This guy's gonna go nowhere. He's never gonna have a podcast 30 years from now.
Talking about this exact thing. I showed you, Dad.
I showed you. That's for sure.
Your emo hair grows. Black eyeliner.
Yeah, I never had emo hair. I had a mullet. I was a straight rocker through and through.
I had the skater do the like part in the middle for like the longest time. Just like I think every single kid had back in the 90s, from at least at my age. And then I eventually cut it to like the Backstreet Boys look that I have now. All I ever wanted. But yeah, so some theories that were, like obviously this is still part of the folklore. Everybody kind of gets, loves it there. It's part of their culture. But like, really, what it comes down to is, I think everybody's kind of on this thing isn't like a real thing that exists. It's just like been kind of blown up proportion by different sightings, and a lot of it's just like being excited about the mystery of the loch. And I would say let's keep that mystery there. Maybe let's not say that it's not true, because we don't know everything. It's very deep. It's very murky. Anything could happen. It could just be a fish, even if it's just a fish that even if it's not a plesiosaurus that's down there, if it's just a long-necked kind of like crocodile looking thing that's just chomping on little shrimp. Maybe it's a vegetarian. We don't know.
But yeah, like the whole area is so murky and foggy and gloomy. And then now, heck, tourism is probably the biggest thing for the area, because everybody wants to go there. We were actually planning like a North Atlantic cruise a couple years ago. We never ended up taking it, but it was basically to go from like London all the way around, London into Scotland, over to, hit some spots in Ireland, come back in Wales. You basically going around the UK or all around Great Britain, and hitting up a bunch of different spots. But one of the spots you could stop, and then you basically took a car or train, but you could go in and go to Loch Ness. And I was like, I'm absolutely doing that as one of our excursions. I've waited my entire life for this. I'm going there. And one day that will happen, but kids in college kind of put that on hold for a while. So I'm gonna have to live that dream here later on.
That reminds me. I don't know if I told you about this. I'm going on when we do our cruise in the spring. We're going to the Mayan temples.
Yeah, you did. You told me
that. Did I tell you about that?
Yeah,
I did tell you that, didn't I?
I'm so jealous.
Freaking excited. That's like when we went to what's the Serpent Mound. Like we went there like this summer. I was just like, I can't believe I'm here. Like it's in Ohio. Like I'm surprised it took me so long, but like we're just never around that area. It's literally in the middle of like nowhere. For me at least, and I'm just like, oh my god! It felt like being in a celebrity. Like we're in Jennifer Lopez. It was just so cool. And then like so like this is like another the Mayan temples. I mean, they're so iconic and cool. We're doing like this. It's a Mayan temple like tour, and then there's like tequila, and then like lunch. I'm just like, this is perfect. This is everything I want it to be. So hopefully it's.
I know.
Hopefully
I'm so jealous. We were over that area. I believe it was on our honeymoon cruise like 26 years ago or something. And we went into that area, and I'm thinking, oh, that's an excursion I'm going to take. And my wife was like, yeah, it's our honeymoon. We're not going to do that. And it's like, you're right, dear. We're not going to do that. No, I'll hit it up the next time, which is never happens.
Why would I want to live out my dreams? No, let's get pedicures. That sounds great.
Yeah. Let's go.
Man.
Let's go snorkeling again. You know.
Yeah, in the dark water. You're crying, but no one can see your tears because they're underneath the mask.
Yeah,
it's filling up inside of your goggles and it's tears of fear.
Oh, Dave, you just got called out in the chat there.
Oh, what is it? Not to put you on the spot, David, but that tune wasn't Backstreet Boys. It was 98 Degrees. You know what? Maybe it was. Maybe it was L7. Listen, I can't stress this enough. If you don't know me enough, I absolutely was in my boy band era. I actually had the NSYNC CD. I was an NSYNC kid. I actively did get excited about them maybe getting back together during like the whole Trolls movie thing. I don't care who knows it. Listen, I've been called gay most of my life as a straight man, and I'm fine with it. You know, I accept where I am. I like pop music. I enjoy all this stuff. It's my wheelhouse. I like to have fun and listen to fun music that makes me happy. And I also listen to metal, so it's like I even it out. I'm just like, you want to get runner, and then it's just like, you know, like I live in both. I live in both worlds. So my Spotify Wrapped is like Deftones, Beastie Boys, Chaperone, Taylor Swift.
It screams of like bipolar, you know.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah. Just I get excited about. Oh, by the way, I know you can't tell by this conversation right now, but I started taking ADHD medication.
It's not working.
No. Well, so I can tell it's working. I never want this to go away. This like that thing. But I've been able to kind of like laser focus when I'm laser focused, which has been like nice. It does give me like a weird, you know, when you have the flu and you like feel good, like, you know what I mean? Like it's just, you feel weird and like, but you're like, I have the flu. I just want to sit here and like, you have a weird like head like sizzle. Like I have a little bit of that, and it feels really good. I'll find out if it like if I sit there and I go like, milk's about to expire. There it goes. I think then maybe be concerned about me, but as of right now, my personality is still here, so I'm good. Because that's what I was worried about the most. Is like creatively, I wanted to make sure I was still here. All that stuff. So, but I'm fine.
Yeah. The last thing we want to do is, level you down, you know. I mean, on a scale of 1 to 10, you walk around at a 15. And, maybe if you come down a little bit, we want to keep you above 10 for sure.
Yeah. I mean, what am I doing here? It's all y'all that are boring.
Yeah. But while we were on the topic of music, an interesting fact that I found out when I was doing the Loch Ness research that I was doing was that on one of the houses, like on the shoreline right around there, was owned by Aleister Crowley. You know, the famous Mr. Crowley. Yeah, Mr. Crowley from Ozzy fame. But yeah, he was the they call it. He was the wickedest man in the world for his black magic and his debauchery that he carried out from his house. But that's where he lived, and then that house, after he died or after he left, that's the house that Jimmy Page bought, and he was doing all of his black magic in. And that's right. Well, it was on the shore, Loch Ness. I guess there was a fire there a couple years ago, and the house burned down. But that famous place was right there on the loch, so it was like just to add even more coolness and mystery to it. That was the Aleister Crowley house was on. I
can't imagine like writing music in that house, like with that history and that location. I didn't realize it was there. That just sounds so like hauntingly amazing. Just like jamming, like just sitting there like jamming on the guitar with like, I'm sure he had like a cigarette and just like I can't think of any Led Zeppelin songs right now. But
well, we'd probably get copyright struck if you did it anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, as it is, 98 Degrees is going to be coming after us.
Yeah. Jessica Simpson's gonna be like, "Don't talk about my ex-man."
Yeah, they're like, your humming was off tune, but we all knew what you were doing.
Yeah, we knew what you were doing there. Freaking Doug's gonna be like, stop singing songs on your freaking podcast. Cost us $100,000 this month. Does it have to be that song? I'm just doing Michael Jackson songs in entirety. I'm only allowed to sing "Happy Birthday" from now on because that's finally public domain.
Are you sure Gene Simmons hasn't bought the rights to that yet?
Oh god.
Find a way to.
I heard a story that he owns the copyright to like when you have like a bag of money and there's like a money mark on it. Like if you do that, like he owns the rights to that.
I would think
dumb.
Some of these stories are as unlikely as some of the cryptids we talk about, but with Gene Simmons, I think there's a lot of truth to it. I mean. He just that's a good idea. Let's do that.
I forget who was saying it. He said it to them. They were like, it was the weird. I was like talking about something. He's like, when there's like a bag of money and there's like the dollar sign on it. I own the rights to that. And he was just like, okay, like weird flex, bro.
He's like, I copyrighted high fives. If you high five somebody, you have to pay me.
There actually is like a crazy unsure history of the high five. If you look into it enough, there's like one person is like kind of deemed as the like father of the high five, but then there's like earlier like sightings of it.
Nobody was high fiving Nessie on the shores of the Loch.
Yeah, it was Bigfoot and Nessie high fiving. He gave him a fin. He gave him a big paw. But yeah, so kind of. In conclusion, so a couple of things. There's the giant eel theory that I have heard about, which I think is the one that was kind of floated by the government of Scotland or something recently. Where they're like, we really want to get to the bottom of this, but we think it's a giant eel that could exist in this area. Which, honestly, of all the theories, that makes the most sense because it has the neck. If it's kind of like slithering through the water and you already have that kind of like thought that it's that necked, beast, you go like, oh, the body is under the water. Like you can't see it.
Well, that kind of goes along the lines of what we were talking about, how Nessie came back in the news, recently. I think it was last month when Prince William went to that. Can't remember the name of the company, but they were showing the experiments on their eDNA samples of things they could do. And they talked about, and for people who don't know what eDNA is that they're able to take from like air, soil, and water, take samples now of it and then test it. They do a bunch of, sciencey things to it. And then they can tell you what is like in the air, in the water, in the soil, and what species of animals have been in that area. So like, you don't even have to physically see the animal, but it's essentially be like finding hair or finding scat or finding something that shows it's there, but on the microscopic DNA level, they could say, oh yeah, this has been in the area, we have the DNA from this species, and then there's a big database of it. But when they were showing him how this stuff worked and they were doing a water sample, and then he brought it up, and Prince William had said to the scientists, he was like, oh, so you guys will be able to tell now and solve the mystery of the Loch Ness Monster. And everybody thought it was pretty funny, and it became like world news last month, as a thing. But they've done some of the samples of that there, and then what comes up the most often is eels. There's lots of eels and stuff there. That's because they're conducive to living in that kind of environment with the water and stuff. But
yeah, I mean, a lot of eels live in the bottom of the ocean, right?
Yeah.
Like there's it's so gross. Eels are gross. I don't like eels. No, thank you.
Not only they're scary, they're gross, and they can shock you. Like it's the triple whammy.
Just like, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
I don't think we're talking enough about the fact that like electric eels exist in the first place. Like, what do you mean you just create your own electricity?
Yeah.
And you live in the water? They just exist?
Yeah.
Like, what the hell?
That's a monster in and of itself, and eels don't get enough credit for being as scary as they are. That's for sure.
I know. Yeah. That's because we never see them. Like, like spiders, we kind of interact with those. So those are scary on their own right. Because they're like, oh, because I just saw one in my basement. Like a wolf spider was in my basement.
Yeah.
But like, you're not like, oh, I was looking for something in my closet and I ran across an eel. Just like they do what they should do, which is stay the hell away from me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
But it's still there's still, yearly sightings, and they keep track of this stuff on the website, for the loch itself. But they had, like, in 2021, there was 6 reported sightings. There were 6 in 2022. 2023, there was 3 in 2024. What did they say? Actually, it doesn't say, but it was the lowest number in over a decade. But I mean, people are still coming forward and saying they're seeing stuff, there. And now, like I said, they have webcams up and around there now. I don't know how many there are. The one I was checking out was just, one view essentially, of a 23-mile long lake. So obviously you're just getting one little sample size of it. But you figure with the amount of people that go there and stuff now that, somebody would see something. But
I don't know. I'm just remembering a core memory of mine. I guess it's a core memory. You remember it a little easier, but a memory that I had when I learned about the Loch Ness monster, being very excited about it, and then thinking that I thought of this independently, that it was a plesiosaurus. Like, I was just like, I figured it out. I figured it out, guys. And like, I went to my teacher and I said, "Are we going to learn about dinosaurs this year?" Because we had obviously, like, every year before that, learned about dinosaurs because we were children. And then apparently there's an age where you age out of learning about dinosaurs, which is a very upsetting age. And he goes, "No, this is 4th grade." It's just like, I was so mad because I was like, I was gonna burst out my plesiosaurus theory that Loch Ness monster was a plesiosaurus.
You're like, I'm gonna win the Nobel Prize here. Oh, we're not talking about him. Well, I'll just keep it to myself then.
I really thought I had something, and I was just like, I'm gonna let him know, Mister. Let me tell you who the Loch Ness monster is, and then I would just say plesiosaurus, and the world was gonna go. I was gonna be on the news. It was gonna be a whole thing, and then he said, "We're not doing dinosaurs this year," and I said, "Okay, that's fine." And then I just went back to my desk. He's probably just like, "This stupid kid still wants to learn about dinosaurs. Grow up." And then Jurassic Park came out, and I was all on board again.
Yeah, you're like, I am all in here.
Yeah, I'm a clever guy. But yeah, so I would say just,
although I did have one other interesting fact about the Loch that I found. There's actually a 30-foot model of the Loch Ness monster that sank in the Loch in 1969 while they were filming The Private Life of Sherlock Holmes. They found it in 2016 with an underwater robot, and the model was laying down 600 feet, below the surface. But yeah, it was 30 feet long. They were using it for a movie, and then it sank, and then it was down there. So you wonder, if at the time when they were doing all that sonar stuff, if they're just like, oh yeah, if you find one over here, it's just that one from that movie back in the day, kind of a thing. Or, but yeah, if you go down there, I mean, technically, I think, technically there is a Loch Ness monster, in the Loch. It's just down at the bottom, and it's not real.
For a fact there was like a couple seconds where they were excited that they found it, and then they just found out it was a movie like prop. They're like, "Oh!"
They're like, that damn Sherlock Holmes movie just fooled us again.
Damn you, Sherlock!
Mystery has been foiled. Nobody ever told us there was a model down there. They're like, we got it. We're sending divers down. We're sending down the subs. And they get down there and they're like, oh wait, no, that's just that model that we forgot. Sorry, we forgot to tell you. You invested all this money.
TV movie. Yeah. We just left it there. You just left your trash. Yeah, I don't know. It sank. I'm not gonna get it.
The water was so dark we couldn't find it.
This place is scary. Do you know that? Yeah. I don't know. But yeah, so I mean that's kind of there's a ton of sightings. I would say believe who you want to believe. Every theory is valid as far as the story goes. We haven't found anything that's like definitive. Some stuff has been kind of shoved under the rug not shoved under the rug. That's the wrong use of that word. But it's been kind of cleared as like maybe this didn't happen. But you know what? If you're going to Loch Ness, you're buying a Loch Ness keychain. You're going to the, I'm sure, Loch Ness eatery. You know, you're doing that. They actually have a place in Sandusky where it's the what's it called? It's called the Nessie's Cafe or something like that. I forget. But it obviously we're not nowhere near it. But that's the Lake Erie Monster kind of thing. And
is it called Lemmy's? Is that?
Yeah, Lemmy's. My bad. Lake Erie's Monster. They call it Lemmy. It was one of those things where I didn't know the name, so I just threw a name in there.
Well, I think it's weird because they actually, a couple different things I've seen, like with the Lake Erie Monster, they refer to it as Bessie, but everything I've ever seen is Lemmy, for Lake Erie Monster. So everything in like Sandusky is all Lemmy. So I don't know. Maybe in other parts of maybe in Buffalo they call it Bessie or something. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
But
or Detroit. Way, little kids will throw bread in the basement. Like they'll be like, "Oh, throw some bread down there," and one of the cooks will hit the ceiling with a broom. It's just so cool. It's just one of those things. Like, "Oh, kids," they're like, "Oh, it's down there." Yeah. Listen, national pastime always includes scaring kids to death.
Nothing wrong with that.
We can do. But yeah, so thanks for joining us on this Loch Ness Monster episode. It's a very special one for us. We very much enjoy our little guy over in Scotland, and maybe we'll go there one day and we'll have a fun time and drink some good whiskey and wear an authentic kilt, and then a breeze will come and we'll embarrass ourselves.
We'll have our pipes. We'll be full on.
Yeah, we'll have our pipes.
We're gonna wear kilts. We're gonna do the whole thing.
And we're like, "Oh, it's quite a breeze up here today, and in the mighty sea, it's coming."
It's like
just saying a bunch of nonsense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our balls going in the breeze. It's nice. I swear it's cold out. That's why.
It sounded exactly like Mr. Krabs from SpongeBob.
SpongeBob. Me money. Oh god, what are we getting ready to end? All right, well, everybody, thanks for if you came to our live with live show on Friday. Join us every Friday at 5. We're live on the YouTubes or wherever you want to listen to. If you're listening to this right now in your car or doing your dishes, we also appreciate when you listen then. If you want to get a hold of us, Monster Soup Podcast at Gmail for any stories that you want to. If you want to come on the show, if you want to talk about anything, if you just want to shoot the breeze with us, silly kids, feel free. We're just two dads doing the thing. And if you want to, follow me on TikTok, I'm doing some fun stuff on there. Mischief Factory on there. Mischieffactory.com for any of my art or anything like that. Yeah, that's all we got. So the kitchen is closed. We appreciate you all. Thanks for coming. See you, Brian. Later.